Hello, welcome to my channel once again. In this video, we are going to be building an application that uses Active Directory through OAuth for authentication. So in the previous video, when we were covering OAuth, we saw how we could work with OAuth to generate tokens, and we use Postman for that. But in this video, we are not going to be using Postman. We are going to be using a real application, and we'll be seeing how we can connect it to Active Directory. So you know that there are applications that you visit and you see the option for sign in with Microsoft, sign in with your Microsoft account. That's essentially what we are going to be doing in this video. We want to build an application that has that sign in with Microsoft option, which essentially is Active Directory. So I'll be sharing my screen very soon. I already built the application actually. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to update the application I had. But unfortunately, I went through Microsoft documentation. Probably I did not search well, but I didn't see an updated version for what I was looking for. So we are still going to be working with sorry, give me a moment. So we are still going to be working with what I have. It works. That's the most important thing. I'll just be walking us through the code. That will be what we are going to be using. So, and it's updated. So I'm in the version 6, .NET version 6 LTS long-term support. So it's still active. So I already have the code because I do not want this video to be unnecessarily too long. I will just walk us through the steps. So when I was building the application and going through all the steps to set it up, I was also taking notes. So I will be using that notes as a guide in my explanation. And I will also be adding content from that note to the description of this video so that we would have a lot of clarity around what we are doing. So the first thing you need to do is when you launch Visual Studio, you create a MVC application, so a web app MVC, not the empty version, MVC, and just follow the prompt for the default setting and you'll be good. Then afterwards, what you need to do is you need to add some packages. So there are libraries and packages that we need for this application. So one of them is because I want to make use of my startup class. So you are going to need to add the owin package, owin package. Then you're also going to have to add Microsoft Identity because we are dealing with identity here. That Microsoft Identity Web as well as Microsoft Identity Web UI. So those are the three packages that you need to add. So to add the package, all you need to do is go over to Tools, Nugget Package Manager, Manage for Solution, and you are good. Bear with me, my computer is a little bit slow, but here's that window. I believe it's still coming up. It's taking a while, but wow, my system is slow. Yeah, so it's finally up. So you come to browse and you search the package you want to add. So as I said earlier on, owin, then Microsoft's what's it called? Microsoft Identity Web and Microsoft Identity Web UI, because this our application is working on the web and we want to interact with classes from the UI. So that's essentially what you need to add. Then the next thing you need to do, so I believe what we've said so far is clear. I'll be walking us through all the steps. Then the next thing we need to do is to create an application object. And we need to create the application object using the default prompt. So let me go to my portal, my Azure portal. So that is where we create our application object. We've done this before, but I'll just mention it again to create an application object. So you go over to your Azure portal, you search for sorry. You go over to your Azure portal, you search for Microsoft Entra ID, which is this. So you click on it and you see this page, this window page. It will be in the overview page. You navigate to application registration because we want to register an application. So when you click on application registration, you'll be able to add a new registration from what we have here. So after doing that, the next thing you need to do is, you can see I have an application here that I have registered, and I call it frankly 001, which is the application that I've registered. So it's this application that I want to use in our Visual Studio. So now, so just follow the default setting and you'll be good. Just follow the default setting and you will be good. So the next thing we need to do is that we need to ensure that, so if I should run that application now, you're going to see the default page that comes with an MVC, web app MVC, the default page, but without any authentication. But that is not what we want. We want to be able to authenticate it using our Active Directory. We want to build an application that has Active Directory in front of it. And we want to be able to sign in as well as signing out of our application. So what I will be doing is that I will come over to my Visual Studio. I'll come over to my Visual Studio and I want to show us some configuration files that we have over there. Yeah, so I'm back to Visual Studio now. This is the interesting part. You know that if we should run this application normally, we will just see the default page, but our end goal is that we want to be able to see sign in with Microsoft. You know, when you see sign in with Microsoft, sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook, we want to have that feature in our application. And we are using our application object for that. So when you come over to the program.js file, program.cs file, okay, so before we go to our program.cs, our startup.cs, we are going to notice that we have a configuration file here known as azuread, and this azuread is being referenced from our appsetting.json. So we are going to see it in our appsetting.json file. If you come over to our appsetting.json file, you see that the azuread is defined over here. You can see the azuread here, and we can see the instance. So the instance is the URL that, because we are dealing with login, we want to log into Microsoft. We want the user, anyone that wants to access our application must be mandated to sign in with a valid Microsoft account. So that's what we are doing here. So that's why we have login.microsoftonline.com here. Then our tenant ID, client ID, they are all gotten from our application object. So when we went to Azure portal and you saw the application object, if I should open the application object, you are going to see the tenant ID and the client ID there. Then the callback part. So the callback part and the sign out callback part are two interesting things. You can see that we have OIDC here. This OIDC was given to us from Microsoft documentation, and it stands for OpenID Connect. So OpenID Connect is like a standard that works hand in hand with our OAuth, and it's more tilted towards authentication. So that's why we are making use of it as a protocol, as a middleware, before we can sign in into our application. So I'm going to show us how we can get all this working. So what you need to do is you need to update your tenant ID and your client ID with what is really in your Azure portal. So after doing that, the way the application object work is that before you can kind of like be able to authenticate with Azure from this our Visual Studio, we need to whitelist our application URL as well as the ports that it is running in our computer locally. So what we are going to be doing is that let me just show us something before we come back, before we return to the portal. If you should open the launchsetting.json, so look at the launchsetting.json here. Now take note of this. Under the application URL, we have the URL here, and we can see it's running on port 48251. Port 48251 is the URL. So this application URL, we need to copy it. We need to copy it, this application URL, and we need to add it to our Azure portal, which I'll be doing, which I'll be showing us how we can do that. So let me return to Azure. So I'm opening the application object now. Yeah, so you can see the client ID, the tenant ID. This is the client ID, and we have the tenant ID as well over here. So if we should go to authentication under manage, if you go to authentication, you will see the option to add a platform under platform configuration. So you click on add a platform, then you need to specify, is it a web application, is it a mobile application, and even if it's a web application, you need to specify if it's a single page application like React and what's it called, React and Angular and all those JavaScript based application, or if it's purely web based like our .NET. In our case is .NET, so we need to click on this for web because it's web that we are dealing with, and we can now choose enter the URL. So this is where we ought to put the URL for our that we saw from our launchsetting.json. So we'll put the URL here, but I'm not going to be putting it again because I already have it added. You can see it over here. So yeah, you can see the sign in hyphen OpenID connect as a parameter, as the endpoint that we are going to, and we can add more to this. And if I should scroll down, you can see we also have our sign out URL. So you need to do this, else you won't be able to sign in with your Microsoft account. Yeah. So now let's go back to our to-do list and let's see what we need to do. So we've done owin, we've done referencing the configuration file in the startup file, we've done application objects, we've done launch setting, uncheck implicit flows when you are adding the URL to your application object. Then now we want to work on our scaffolding item, and what we are really doing is that we are looking at our views. We want to ensure that we have the right views in place to ensure that we can sign in with Microsoft. And how do we do this? Let me go back to Visual Studio. So what you need to do is you need to come over to your application, you right click, then you come to add, and we're adding a new scaffolded item. You click on it, new scaffolded item. Then you choose identity. You choose identity. You click on add. Click on add. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading. Now, the good thing about using this approach, this scaffolded item, is that it installs all the dependencies that you need in terms of the entity framework and everything around this. It does a lot for you. That's one advantage of using this scaffolded item. So we now need to add identity. What you need to do is, we're only interested in logging in and logging out. You can see so many other scaffolded item over here. Forgot password, confirm email, with 2FA, email change, blah blah blah. So all this helps you to they kind of like provide some kind of templates that you can use when it comes to your layouts, which is interesting. But because I already did this, I do not need to do it again. It's already done. But all you just need to do is click on this, choose the default data you have here, ensure you click on use SQLite instead of SQL Server. But because I already have it over here, so I do not need to do it again. So I will cancel this. I'll cancel this. So the next thing we need to do is, if you should go over to our login partial, we just need to ensure that that this page, what we have is, let me see. Yeah, so this is fine. It's just a warning. So what we just need to ensure is that we have this, so you can see this code. You can also use the default. It's just that it will contain a lot of information that we do not really need, but the emphasis is on the authentication aspect. So you can see the layout page also. So let me scroll down so that you can pause and copy. And I will also be providing the code in our GitHub repository. I'll be providing the code over there. So let me go to the startup page, and I will also be slow so that you can pause and also copy and see all the content of the code, because I'm about to run in the program now. And let me go to the program.cs. So these are only what we modified. All the other default aspects, we didn't really touch them. Then let me go to the launch setting so that you will see what we have there. The launch setting and also the app setting. Can see the structure. So I think we are good. I'm about running our program now. I'm about running it. I think we are good. Hopefully there will not be any error. So many things are happening in the background, but this video, this lab is not for explanation on what is happening in the background. The lab is for how you can use Visual Studio to build an application that allows you to authorize with a Microsoft account. So an application that connects to an Active Directory and allows you to log in with a Microsoft account. So in another video, we can talk about all what is happening in the background. So let me run this program. Let's see it working first. Oh, let me stop sharing. I'll share my browser soon. So it's running. It's running. It takes a while. It takes a while. It's building the code and it's running. So in subsequent videos, we are going to be building a full application that requires authorization. You know, what we are really doing here is mainly authentication, logging in with Microsoft. It's taking some time. It's taking some time, but it's running. My computer has been quite slow lately. Yeah, it's still running. It's still running. Yeah, and it's coming up. So now this is the time for me to share quickly. I hope I can share before it goes off. Oh, because I'm already logging. So what I will do is let me sign out. Let me sign out. Okay, let me now get the URL where it is running so that I can enter it directly. I think 7106 or so. Yeah, it's running in ports. Let me take note of the ports. Where's my ports? 7106. Yeah, it's running in port 7106. So let me go to localhost. I hope you can see my screen. 7106. So now I'm trying to go into it. So I need to clear my cache. So you know what I will do? Let me use another browser. So let me copy this. Let me use another browser, even though I do not have my password handy, but let me use my let me stop sharing here. Let me use my Mozilla or my Chrome. Should I use my Chrome? Let me use my Chrome. Yeah, so my Chrome is coming up. Computer is just really slow. Okay, so now let me share. Let me share my Chrome screen. Yeah, so I believe you can see my screen now. So this is the URL. So I will try to log in now. So this is our application. It's running on this port. You know, our aim is that you can see it's saying sign into your account. Saying sign into your account. It's now telling me to pick an account. It's telling me to pick an account right now. However, I do not want to give it access to my main Outlook account. It's the account that I was using for Azure that I have added to this application. So if I should use this, it will throw an error because it's only people that are part of my Active Directory that will be able to sign in to this. So but you can see that it redirected. You can see a token over here. So if I should provide the right credentials when signing in, I don't even know my password right now, so it would even ask for a password. So if I should provide the right credentials, then I will now gain access into the page. So we've been able to add authentication to our application, which is the aim of this video. So if you want to see the actual front end, so I can go to my Edge page and you can see the default page over here. You can see hello, I added the email, and all these are from the views, the layout page that I modified, that I replaced the code. I can see the sign out button over here. So I mean, it's very, very easy. So we've been able to add authentication as well as a little bit of authorization to our application. So if you find this video informative, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. Have a nice day.